This is from a poll conducted by the Israel Democracy Institute, which is not a polling organization that I have a lot of knowledge or history with, so bear that in mind. This is not Morning Consult. This isn't, whatever. But after the pause in the hostilities that happened last month, they say that more than 3/4 of Israelis said that the offensive should resume without adjustments that would reduce either Palestinian civilian casualties or the international pressure that is coming as a result of those civilian casualties. A Tel Aviv University poll conducted in late October, obviously that's in a much earlier phase of this conflict, said that only 10% of Israelis thought the army was using too much firepower. Now, I'm assuming those numbers would be different because the numbers in terms of how many had died or been driven from their home was very different in late October than it is now. But bear in mind, Biden, they're once again pressuring for a change in strategy to lower civilian deaths. That's at least what the news is saying today. So Brett, what do you make of that?
But that's it. This is how it all works, right?
Okay, what did I do?
The polls from late October.
Well, I acknowledge that.
You did,
but that's what we have.
But
Rasmussen didn't poll today.
Yesterday's coverage about dumb bombs, what the, it's so difficult for me because it's I hate it. I feel like the referee in a sport I hate. I hate it. I hate it all. It's the dumbest sport in the world, but everybody seems to be doing this right now. You just asked, it's the easy for you to say Olympics right now. According to people who don't live there and didn't live there and who's, everybody's relative in this region was the victim of a horrible, or individuals alive in that region. Everybody there was just the world's just tried to kill everybody there. Everybody there. Everybody there they've recently attempted to kill everybody or their grandfather there. So when these things happen, when horrible events occur, because everybody understands that this is a powder keg of old world animosity. I'll just speak for Jews. I'll speak for all Jews. No one likes doing it. I'm not that Jewish. I didn't get bar mitzvah, but it's everybody who has ever run this region has eventually just been today we're gonna kill the Jews. More often it's Christians who did this. Depending on the ascendancy or decline of the empire in charge, that they've suddenly been now we're gonna kill Jews. All of them treated Jews as second-class citizens. And this is not to justify any murder. This is not to do that. This is when people say, literally in their tweets, I don't understand how people can be like this. The answer is, there was never some military campaign that's convert to Judaism or die. Ever. The only mass conversion to Judaism that I know of is when the Khazarite or whatever it was called was asked the Jews, the Muslims, and the Christians, who should we convert to? The Jews said, not us. The Christians said, don't become a Muslim. The Muslims said, don't become a Christian. And they were all right, we'll become Jews because they seem like the least extra. No one else has ever done that in the history. There's never been a mass conversion because they don't want it. And so that was a bad decision apparently, because you can go kill a lot of people in the name of your religion and suddenly they're willing to die for it afterward. It's asking why a powder keg is explosive. It is because of all the chemical things that are about to have it be that way. That's it.
I think that is a very helpful addition of context, religious, psychological, historical context to why we might see the polling data that we do. I think that is very helpful.
That's all my point is for.
Yes. But I would say the reason why I am interested in the polling data in this case is, as we talked about before the show, the same reason that I would be interested in when we find out 9 years into the Iraq war that 300,000 Iraqi civilians have died. I want to know why so many people still support the war effort. I want to know why so many Russians still support the invasion of Ukraine when so many Russian soldiers are dying. I want to know why so many parents still think there should be effectively no regulations on guns when more, kids are being blown away by, in every one of those cases, I'm sure you could have a dissertation length analysis of the psychological and historical and social and cultural and economic reasons. And I think you should. As you said, the question should be, how deeply do you want to understand this? And you went deeper than I think most people will. But I still want people to respond to, a 2-month-long bombing campaign that's killed 18,500 people by saying, maybe we dial it back a little bit because many of the people who are dying were not even alive the last time there was an election in Hamas. And doing this seems almost certainly to lead to future cycles of the same sort of violence that are the historical context you added. So I'm an outsider. Religiously, historically, I've spent literally 7 days in Israel in my life, I think. But I am glad that you can provide a different perspective.
And I will say, like, this, I pretty much day 4 of this, I said what my position was going to be, and I've stuck by that, which is, I know it just ceasefire. Like, I said that like a week after. I said, but like, that is me looking at Israelis who, like, the day that the UN was like, here's where you guys are and here's where those guys are, like there's it's invasion, counter invasion, whatever you want to call it. Like, I have to look at them and say, yeah, there was the biggest invasion since 9/11, like 29/11s by whatever, and I have to tell them, I don't care. You should do a ceasefire because that's just how it is there. And it's horrible for me to say that to the faces of people who are saying, like, they just showed up and killed a bunch of our people in our borders, which the UN said this is where it should be. And I'm willing to take that position publicly.
Brett, I think you are very reasonable. And I'm glad we can talk about it. Obviously, it's a difficult situation. And a case could be made that you and I, even working in concert, will not solve it. But we can at least try to be reasonable about it and hopefully provide an environment for other people to be reasonable about it. Do not test that hypothesis by checking the YouTube comments later, but the live comments, I think, quite reasonable. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.